Hi, Emily. Thank you for letting me interview you for my Psych of Mentoring class. To start off this interview, can you state your name, your age, and the job that you are mentoring in?
Yes. Hello, my name is Emily Tran. I'm 21 years old, and I'm currently a senior nursing student at Dominican University, and I hold a student worker position in the Nursing Simulation Center at Dominican University. I've also worked as a teacher's assistant for sophomore two nursing students for the Nursing Fundamental Lab.
Great. Thanks, Emily. In this student worker position, how do you consider yourself a mentor, or what role do you essentially play?
So with student worker job, I basically critique the nursing students. I offer my assistance and guidance. I give advice on tackling nursing school, along with being an active listener to the nursing students, like when they're stressed or worried about their own like nursing lectures as well too. And I would consider myself a mentor because I check up on students at least maybe like once or twice a week and encouraging them to confine with me, as I also went through like the same thing as they did going to their nursing classes and stuff like that. And as a mentor, I use my own experience to tell the students what has helped me, what didn't help, and the tips and tricks that I obtained to better their time as nursing students. And then as a student worker job, I also help faculty demonstrating and in participating in skills practice with the students. So I also runs the simulation program, the computerized. So like I would work with the sim man that we have, a mannequin that is powered through like a computer, and just like things like that.
It sounds like you do a lot for the nursing program at Dominican, and you definitely lead by example, it sounds like. So, to go on about mentoring, how long have you been a mentor, and how many people do you mentor at like one time?
So the teacher's assistant, I've worked 2 semesters, so for like 1 year. And then as a student worker at the simulation center, I have worked about, I would say, 2 years in the simulation center. And usually, so like pre-COVID, when everything was in person and open lab was happening and anyone can come in to practice their skills. So I'll be mentoring maybe like 4 or 5 students at a time. So in the class filled with like maybe 20 to 30 people, depending on the day. So each we have each section in this lab. So we have 4 to 5 students at one mannequin, so they can practice their skills such as like the urinary catheter and G tube, nasogastric suctioning, stuff like that, or like injections. And but now because of COVID, we're restricting open labs, so not you can only come into the lab if you reserved a slot. So I think we had, I believe, 8 to 10 people each for each schedule. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
mentoring 2 to 3 people at a time on each mannequin, just for like safety precautions and infection control and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. That's actually a lot of students to take on one time. How long would you mentor each student? Like, would it be just for the open lab duration, or do you do weekly checkups, or how does that kind of work out?
So again, it would depend because the instructor is also there, so they would sometimes the instructor would want like the one-on-one with the students instead of me just going around to answer people's questions. or and then for the instructor, they would also just want me to have half of the class on one side and half of the other class on the other side. So I'd be mentoring maybe half of the class for like the whole lab or part of the lab. And then some simulation they would run maybe like, it depends, like 5 minutes to like 10, 15 minutes. So yeah.
Okay, and then with each of these students that you mentor, is it throughout the whole semester, or how many weeks or months would you say you mentor each student for?
So the each student is won't like come each week, so it'll be different students each time unless they reach out to me because they because of COVID they can't come regularly as they used to. But and it also depends on my schedule for my student worker job. So it would depend if my schedule would align with that same student if they were gonna come in.
Okay, and then also, do you meet up with these students, like, I guess in person, or at least communicate with them if they reach out to you? Do you do like outside of like the semester or anything like that?
So I would if they want, I could I would provide them my phone number or my email so that they can reach out to me outside of class or outside of the semester, like during the break if they need help. Um, but it would depend on them to see if they would need help on like whatever problem they have.
Okay, and would you consider these relationships that you have with the students as informal or formal?
I would say it could be both. It would be more informal, I would say, just because I just want to have a student to student relationship. Um, because I don't want them to look at me just like I'm friends. I could just be joking and stuff like that. But I also want to be serious. And I want them to look up to me to ask questions and to be open into reaching out to me.
Okay, and then do you also have a um, certain year for each student? Like, how can I say this? Do you only do like sophomore twos, or do you want to do like juniors, or do you also mentor like any other like senior students?
So I actually I've been mentoring like various levels of the nursing program. So so I would be mentoring usually sophomore ones to senior twos. Usually not freshmen because they're pre-nursing, so they wouldn't be doing any skills or clinical skills, stuff like that.
Right.
But then yeah, for my work schedule, it would depend on what I work. So geriatrics or peds or maternity or critical care or code blue simulations. So it could be a various the different levels of it.
Okay. And how would you describe what your mentor and mentor protege relationship looks like? Like, do you have a lot in common with your protege since it is like a student student relationship, or do you guys differ in a lot of ways? And then also, how do you guys communicate?
So like I said, I could communicate by the open labs or in person at the simulation center or outside class, which is through text message or email. And then my relationship between them is more like, wait, can you repeat the first question actually?
How would you describe your mentor protege relationship? Like, do you have a lot of common with them?
Oh, okay. So, because I also was like in their shoes doing their classes in the past. I have a lot of common with them. Like we talk about like um how the tests went or how the class is or the environment. And like we're all basically nursing students. So we also just talk about like our similarities and differences as well.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like you do give a lot of advice, especially from your own experiences with your proteges. Um, as you are a nursing student still, I I assume that you would have a lot in common and just kind of going from professor to professor. So that would make a lot of sense. And then how often do you see each other since after, let's say after COVID, um, or during COVID, I should say, how often do you see these students?
Um, After COVID, like I haven't been able to like see them weekly or even like I would see them rarely because there's no open lab. But I do have like one student still that reaches out to me asking about the courses that I have already taken, and then they're the ones that's taking that course, and they have like the same professors or clinical, which clinical site is the best, or which one's the most skill you have more skills doing, um, things like that. So actually, very rarely, yeah.
Hmm, okay. And then also, what drew you to being the role of a mentor, or how exactly did you end up doing this? Was it because you volunteered, or is it due to your TA job, or did it just essentially like happen?
So throughout my whole nursing career, this like starting freshman year, I was like really shy. I just wanted to study and be in my own room and just be in my books and notebooks. So like I wasn't even like out there, and I knew that for nursing you had to stand out. You had to like be more confident. You had to ask questions. You because it is a competitive um so like nursing, like the careers is really competitive. So you just I knew we had to um become more of a leader, I would say. So then in sophomore year, that's when we began to do our skills, began to do patient education, things like that. So and then also other people were my mentors, so I would also look up to them and I wanted to be them. So I took a step further and then got a position at a hospital for volunteering, where I was able to become more confident and become a better mentor. And then that was during the summer. So then I wanted to do it in during when I was at school. So I picked up the job as a simulation student worker junior year, I believe. And that's when I had to do more mentoring and teach students that are younger than me how to do like the skills I already have mastered and things like that. And also being a TA, I had to do like basically the same thing. So I think it just went like my mentoring, um, it just led up to that.
It's good to hear that not only are you going to the hospitals during like summer vacation and kind of brushing up on your own skills, it sounds like you both get the mentoring side and also the protege side, as you are being trained yourself and then also you are training others. And I think that's a great way to see both perspectives of the relationship and how that could happen. Um, to kind of further into that, what would you say are the two or three most important things that you do for your protege?
So the most important thing that I would do for my protege would be again, communicating with them, and then because they are hands work, and for the in-person, I could give them advice to them and not be afraid of giving them constructive criticism when they're doing or practicing their skills.
Okay. And then are your proteges like very collaborative? Would you say like you make goals for the day, or how would you communicate well with your protege on these importances or these goals that you make?
So I would give I would be patient first and have them do what they do and see what their knowledge is first before I just go and like give them criticism. So, and then also the instructor, I mean, or the professor, or a professor would give them a goal in the beginning of the class, like today we're gonna do urinary catheters. So then I know what urinary catheters, and then I know what like some like the people would do that would be wrong, like their mistakes. So then I just give them my tips and tricks on how to do a urinary catheter, and the goal is for them to improve in their skills. So then we just work on that.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like nursing is very, how do you say this? It's something that is always improvable. Like you can always brush up on your skills or maybe learn a different way to do something. So there's always room for improvement, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then do you have any goals for the relationship? And if so, how will you know when you've met those goals?
So for me, when those goals are met, or for the goals to be met, I would just have them do the skills, and I would I would I would have them repeat their skills, and then I would have to sign off of it. So like in for TAing, they have this piece of paper where they have the TAs check off their skills. So then if the goals were met, then I would have to check that off. And I would know that they have mastered the skill. I would know like if they're doing something wrong and things like
Oh, okay. So then it kind of sounds like the instructor or the instructor or the professor kind of makes those goals for you, and then you're the one to go through those goals with the student. Is that correct? Or
yeah, so have them um so the goal like would be like the urinary catheter. So like they would practice it, but then I would also help them to improve and help them master it, instead of like, oh, they have to do it their own. They can have their own goals, but then I would not I would be with them to help
Mhm.
them meet the goal of the
Okay.
yeah.
And then since it nursing is the has a lot of room for improvement, are you willing, or do you set new goals for the student? Like if you see that they're struggling, maybe tinker the goal or like make new goals or tell them to practice more. How does that kind of work out?
Yeah, so I would advise. So I would just tell them to come back for like the open lab, or reserve a room so that we could practice it one on one. Maybe that person is just nervous around other people, or they're just they don't know how to do it at all. So then and they're slower than the other students. So then I would have to have them go aside, and they would have different goals other than the other people. So then I would have to work on with them with that.
Okay, and then what expectations do you have for the relationship? Are they are these expectations clear, or do you have like some sort of like formal agreement or contract that is signed, or is it more like a informal, like, hey, I'm your mentor for the day? Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, it's more I am like the mentor of the day because I always see different students almost every time. I don't see them consecutively.
Mhm.
And there's no like official formal agreement such as like the tutoring, like we don't have that. And I just expect the relationship just to be mentor and students so that um, when they go to a different mentor, they would have the knowledge that I gave them, but like they would try to keep improving with that mentor.
Hmm, okay. And then how exactly does this relationship benefit you, Emily? Like, how, what do you get from being a mentor? This could literally be anything.
It just makes me like really happy just to see the students improve because when I was in their shoes, I was just nervous and all the time. Um, and I just want them to be comfortable, and that just makes me like relieved that they don't have to like feel the same tension that I did.
Hmm.
Um, and then it just also helps me to be more confident too. And as a leader, because like as I said, in the nursing field, we have to be more confident and become like like we just have to stand out.
Hmm. Okay. And then I have about two more questions for you. And the first one is, if you had one piece of advice for someone starting out to being a protege, in a mentoring relationship, of course, what would it be and why? So, any advice?
Um, let's see. For a protege, I would say like don't be afraid to ask questions. We're here to help you like as a mentor. Like don't feel like like you're a bother or anything because like that's how I felt. Like I feel like why are they wasting their time teaching me or stuff like that? But then just don't be afraid, be confident in yourself, and you will do well in the nursing program hopefully. And because nursing is competitive too, but just also like stand out and yeah, just don't be afraid to ask anything.
Hmm, okay, that's a good answer. Um, if you had one piece of advice for someone starting out to be a mentor like you, what would that be and why? So, what would you say from mentor to another mentor?
Um, try not to act like in like superior, like you
Hmm.
know everything.
Oh,
Like
don't be a know-it-all,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Oh, you're doing this wrong, and no, you should do it like this way. Like, but you just want to like be patient with the protege. You want to give them some time. You don't want to like overload them with so much information that they'll like crash. Because just like assess like what they know already and build off of that.
Oh, that's good. Okay. So it sounds like um, learn from experience, um, go best with what you know, and then how you can improve those skills, how you can brush up on those skills. And then it sounds like you're always training. So if you're training, um, or if you're training another student, it's kind of like a stepping ladder, right? So it's just like trickling down. You're an RN is training you, and then the nursing student, post grad student, is training the next up and coming nursing student. So it sounds like you get both sides of mentoring and being a protege, and I think that that's a really good role for you, Emily.
Thank you. And then as like I graduate, I'm gonna have to learn from more nurses and become a protege myself still. But then I hopefully in the future I could still like teach nursing students when I become an RN and help them feel comfortable and help them become more knowledgeable as well.
Great. Thanks, Emily, for letting me interview you for this. One thing that I just have to say is congratulations on nursing school and congratulations for graduating. Yay.
You too.
Thanks, Emily.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.